Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to Mindshifters Radio with your co-host, the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael Ryce, and his wife, Jeannie. Michael and Jeannie share with you the wisdom of the ancient Aramaic internal process of forgiveness. They offer tools and support 5 days a week. They will support you in building a solid foundation within yourself to live in pure love. In Aramaic, Rakhma. Michael is the author of So Why Is This Happening to Me Again? For more information on Michael and Jeannie, please visit www.whyagain.com. And now your co-host, the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael and Jeannie Ryce.
To the brightness within you, and the truth that is rooted within me.
Well, welcome to the show, everybody. I'm going to assume that we're in two different locations right now, and so I'm going to assume that Jeannie has some technical difficulties, and so she's not opening the show at this point, but I'm sure she's working on it. And so we're on the road, and our internet access is a little bit challenged, and as you saw with yesterday's show, we've got some difficulties in the control panel with Blog Talk. So we're working on those issues, and I'm assuming that Jeannie will hopefully come on momentarily and be here with the control panel. Otherwise, we'll just talk for a little bit until she joins us about Memorial Day celebration. Or honoring, actually, more than celebration. It's the honoring of Memorial Day and Veterans Day and our commitment to put an end to the insanity on planet Earth of war. And we're going to invite you to join us in that commitment. And the way that we're going to collectively, individually and collectively, change the dynamic of war on planet Earth is to learn to be responsible for what goes on inside of ourselves and to forgive. And not forgiveness in the sense that our culture teaches that, we live in a culture that gives us Greek philosophy in place of the original Aramaic forgiveness. And the Greek philosophy idea of forgiveness is, well, you did something really terrible that caused all this pain inside of me. It's all your fault that I'm going through this again, but it's okay, I'll forgive you. I'll let you off the hook. Which does absolutely zero, does nothing to address the pain that's going on inside of me. And as I recognize that, I have the opportunity to own and to change the dynamic of my internal pain. And it looks like we've got some technical difficulties going on. Jeannie just came in. And also, I think that Carol was going to be on the switchboard. So maybe if Carol's on the board, she could let us know. And see if we've got any callers or anything happening in the chat room. Are you there, Carol? No? Okay. Well, anyway, we'll go on with the conversation about Memorial Day. So the group conversation being, you did it to me, it's your fault, I'll forgive you, leaves us with our internally generated pain fully intact. And my offering is that's the only cause of war on planet Earth. That's what separates us from abundance, which makes us feel like we have to go steal from somebody else. And, of course, you get to work against somebody who's got some strength and such, and they want to fight back when you want to steal their stuff. So now we have war, so now we kill people. And there's just a whole insane game going on the planet. And it's all due to the internal pain that keeps us separated or disconnected from who we are. Who are we, really? Who are you? Well, we have a simple answer for that, and it's got nothing to do with words. All we're going to do is invite you to hold a newborn child. You know exactly who you are, who you were designed to be, and what you were designed to live as. And if you're not living as that, then you've lost your human life. And if you've lost your human life, you've lost it to 1,000 generations of rage and grief and pain and fear. And the way to reclaim it is to remove the rage, the grief, the pain, and the fear. And as you're able to remove that energy, that which never belonged in you in the first place, a whole different game shows up in your life. You get to live as a human being. And guess what? The interpersonal wars, the intercommunity wars, the intercontinental wars that happen, all of a sudden stop. We stop voting for that stuff. We stop playing that game. We take responsibility, and we move in a different direction. So our invitation to you is that today, if you haven't started yet, you pick up the forgiveness tool, put it to work in your life. Watch what happens. Watch when the delight of aliveness, joy, and creativity of your newborn essence shows up in your physiology. Now, when you first start doing the work, it may only show up for a fraction of a second, and it may be gone. It may show up for a fraction of a second and a fraction of a second repeatedly. But you start stringing those fractions of seconds together, and it ends up showing up as a human life. The rage, the fear, the grief, the pain, the guilt begin to disappear. Now, on the right-hand side of our website, if you want to know more about that tool of forgiveness as it goes back into the original ancient Aramaic, we'll invite you to go to www.whyagain.com. And on the right-hand side, you'll see a link that says Download Worksheets. And if you go to that Download Worksheet section, then you will find 7 links. The first link will give you the how-to of forgiveness from the ancient Aramaic in written form, chapter 24 of my book, Why Is This Happening to Me Again? And, by the way, you can download the whole book free if you'd like. That's also a possibility. So when you download the chapter 24, that'll explain the forgiveness process. And then from there are several links that will give you all of the information you need to move forward with forgiveness in your world. And the information includes the actual worksheet. The second link is for the reality management or forgiveness worksheet process. The third link is a radio show. And our radio show, there are actually several links that go through our radio show, or different radio shows, where we've walked people through the forgiveness process, step by step, moving through and letting loose of the old rages, griefs, guilts, fears, pains, and traumas. And so we invite you to join us in that process and to engage in the process of forgiveness. And so that's our request of you. That's our invitation to you. We invite you to go to our site, pick up that information, put the pen to the paper, watch how things start to change. And change they will. We just finished doing a 9-day, actually 2 back-to-back 9-day Why Is This Happening to Me Again intensives here in Florida, and some pretty monumental changes, some pretty exciting changes happening there. And so we'll invite you to engage in the process of forgiveness. We are there to support you in doing that process, and that's our system. That's our plan for deleting hostility, fear, grief, rage, and pain from the planet. Our call-in number is 646-200-4169. Jeannie's still trying to get on the website. I don't know what's going on, but we're having... Well, I think we've got some challenges. I'm going to check out for just 1 second. I'll be right back. Okay. Well, Jeannie seems like she can't get in the studio, so I don't know what's going on there. But if Carol is on, Carol is going to be on the site today. If you're there, Carol, could you tap in and see if you can have any idea of what's going on, if you're able to get into the site? And if not, maybe you could call Jeannie's phone and just let her know if there's a problem with the system. I don't know what's going on. But anyway, our apology. We are moving forward. We're working on technical difficulties, and we'll just do some forgiveness work around the frustration that comes up at things not operating as they are designed to operate, and we'll invite you to join us in that process. We are in Orlando, Florida. As I said, we just finished doing 2 back-to-back 9-day intensives, and then we are going to be, in 2 weeks, we'll be in Jacksonville, at Unity of Jacksonville, doing a full week of workshops there. We'll start the first Sunday of May, and we'll be doing Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, free workshops at Unity of Jacksonville if you're in that area. And then on Saturday, there's one workshop that we do charge a fee for. It's called Mind Shifters and Still Point Breathing, and we'll be doing that one in Jacksonville, Florida. So come and join us. We'd be delighted if you'd like to be part of the process. And we're still
Michael, sorry to interrupt you. This is Carol.
Hey there, young lady.
I'm in the chat room. The chat room is open, so I want everybody to know that it is open. I had it open, and then I was on the switchboard, but I had you on speaker, so I couldn't get you off, and I had to recall back in. So can Jeannie get on the switchboard or anything?
She can't get on the switchboard, no. Any possibility you can link, sign on to it and see if you can.
Yeah, is she area code 413?
No, 423. But she's not called in. She's on a computer.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't see her there.
David's on a 417.
So you do have a couple callers. You have area code 517 and 312. Which one would you like?
312 is Chicago. That's going to be Dr. Tim. So let's bring Dr. Tim on and say hello.
Okay. Hi, is that Dr. Tim, 312?
Hello? Yeah, no, it's not Dr. Tim. It's Ari.
Oh, it's Ari. Hey there, Ari. Dr. Tim's trying to get on. We're still having some challenges.
I thought it was going to be like yesterday that I would just dial in several times when you said 312 Dr. Tim. It's like, boy, the system's still a little off base.
Yeah, that was my error. I was thinking that his cell phone might have been 312, but I think it's 918 or something. Anyway, glad to hear your voice, Ari, and it's great timing to call in and to let us know about what you've got planned for food, work, fun, and forgiveness. The program we're doing starting July 12th to the 21st. So we'll be doing the 12th through the 21st at Heartland, and Ari has some new kitchen tricks to teach us. So tell us about that, Ari.
Well, basically, we've always just done raw. And this time, we're going to be doing a combination of raw and cooked, so it will be kind of a totally new experience for everyone. I mean, not for me. I've done cooked a lot in the vegan world, but at Heartland, we haven't done that. And I think it'll make it easier for also people working. Plus, we'll learn a lot of new kitchen techniques. Never taught down there any cooking techniques, actually, just uncooking techniques. So it's sort of a whole new world. It'll be a lot of fun to play. It also opens up and broadens our spectrum on, what we can eat, what we can make, the look of what we're going to be making. So it'll be just kind of new broken ground for Heartland. And,
cool. And
along with that, what?
Go ahead. Well, I was going to say you had shared that you had some new recipes and some new things you were working with.
Yep, I had some new recipes. But I was going to say all the recipes. After I said that to you, I'm like, well, almost all the cooked recipes are going to be new because I haven't really done them down there. I realized it after the fact that they're all new. And then we'll spill over a little bit because it's staying a little longer, and we'll start off the second group.
Awesome.
So that should work out. So whoever's staying for the whole time, they'll get a little bit of cooked and a little bit of raw, and just a lot of stuff in between.
Cool. Well, we'll be doing some awesome food, and everybody will get a chance to get their hands on the food and learn from this encyclopedia of food called Ari. And for those who are not familiar with Ari, he's the gentleman who's set up our food programs over the years at Heartland, our recipes and our menus, and we're actually doing a major revision of the recipes book. It's growing from about, I think it used to be about 75 pages, and the new version is going to be about 160 pages of recipes and the food program that we do at Heartland. So that'll be pretty cool. And
and now it encompasses all of, which we'd never had before. We used to send out the addendums, and this will be all the different sessions that we were down there, along with some other sessions of what was done at Heartland and served. So it's all together. This is years, literally years of recipes, as opposed to before we used to just do one segment or one summer and then send out editions. So that's kind of a new and exciting thing that's all in one.
Very cool.
And and the kitchen will be rocking because we'll have it all completely set up and rolling. So it's been redone. Whoever hasn't come down recently, so it's actually a much bigger and better teaching kitchen because we have a giant center table and it's easier to work in, but it's a much better teaching kitchen. So we've done a lot of work on it, and it looks really good. So it's something to look forward to. And if someone has favorites and they're coming, we can certainly, if it's within reason, handle the requests, especially if it's local and, grown in that region. If someone knows something that they really like or want to learn something, I'm open to most techniques, as you well know, Michael.
Cool. Well, so anybody that wants to join us, actually, you could call me on my cell, which is 954, and we'll ask you to just use the cell gingerly. It's not a counseling line or anything like that, but if anybody wants information or wants to register for Food, Work, Fun, and Forgiveness, July 12th to 21st will be the dates, and we'll be doing food work. We'll be doing learning about food from Ari. We'll be doing some work projects that will actually be the opening, the readying of the center for the intensive season. And so there'll be work projects to do as well. And then in the evening we'll be doing some forgiveness and teaching some of the workshops and doing some still point breathing. So it'll be a wide variety of playtime and work time. And it's kind of an economy program. We're normally Heartland for food, accommodations, workshop materials, everything's $175 a day. This is going to trim it down to $75 a day. So that'll include everything for the 10 days. And then we'll have a day off, and we'll start our 9-day Why Is This Happening to Me Again? So anybody that wants to do food and forgiveness will walk right into a 9-day why, and then we'll be doing teachers training. So, and if anybody's coming for teacher training, we could work out something for you to just stay over if you wanted to stay through the 9-day and see what we set up. I've been kind of contemplating that the last day or so since we talked, Ari, and finalized these dates. So awesome. So, we are looking forward to getting to play with you.
Yes, so am I. Absolutely. And I think there's even some, just if people know, we have little things on the website about the food. If anybody wants to, just look into what we've done and things like that. I don't know if you have some fun pictures posted of some of like when we made the 4th of July dessert cake, the flying American flag with blueberries and strawberries and the raw tart on the nut crust. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure what all Jeannie's got out there, but I know she's got lots of stuff out there on the website.
She does. Okay,
it's awesome.
Great.
She's doing that. Yep. Very cool.
So
all right,
if anybody has any questions, also I'll call in another time. Maybe we'll arrange it, and if they have any questions, I can answer them. On the show if you want.
Why don't you stay on with us and
okay, sure.
Let's just see if anybody has any questions. Jeannie, were you able to get on the site?
What is Jeannie's? This is Carol. What is Jeannie's area code?
423 is Jeannie.
Okay, yeah, I think she's here. Jeannie, is that you? Hello, 423.
Yes, I'm here. I still can't get into the studio. I've signed
Well, no,
on,
I hear you perfectly.
I didn't show up, and the chat room, I tried to type in it, and it doesn't show up. So I think that our internet connection here
but Jeannie, I hear you perfectly.
Yeah, she's on the phone now, but she can't get in on the computer.
Oh, okay. Okay, I got you.
With that in that regard.
Right, and I see you in the chat room, so, but you can't type.
Except I typed, and it doesn't. When I hit send, it doesn't show up. And then
you want to reboot your computer completely?
On the switchboard itself, like even when I pressed 1, I didn't show up on the switchboard.
Right.
So I didn't even see myself on there. So I don't know, something weird's going on.
I see. I see you fine. You're there. I see you have the one pressed. I see you in the chat room. I would completely shut your computer down with everything and reboot it.
I'll do it.
Try that. So Michael, you do have another call too.
Okay, well, let's bring our caller in and see if it's a question for Ari.
Okay, and if anybody does have a question for Ari, they can call in at 646-200-4169. And let's see. We have area code 517.
Hello, Michael, Jeannie, Ari. How's everybody doing?
Good. Hey, doing well, Rex. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic today. Thank you. Awesome. I wanted to comment on a conversation you and I had, and I wanted to mention the idea of the power person dynamic and struggle and the control piece. It has been coming up a lot. And as you know, yes, it has. I've been aware of it, and I have been working with it for years, consciously, and recently I have been and am letting go of this whole idea of controlling my environment. Well, after our conversation, I did quite a few worksheets, and came to understand is that the power pull, pulling back and forth, the power struggle that I was doing with my son. Well, actually, I'll own it completely. I was doing with myself. I was projecting on him. Cause it's beautiful what happened, as a result. And I did quite a few worksheets last night, and then did some more today, and just been really processing. And I heard him rustling around in the room. For those listeners that don't know the whole story, it's real simple. I've had a challenge with my son, and I'm learning about the dynamics of interacting in a relationship with my son when I'm playing out my own power person dynamic, and he may be playing out his power person dynamic with me, which is very interesting to be actively and consciously involved in, to say the least. And at times I had a tendency to go unconscious, which was yesterday was one of those occasions, although I didn't even recognize that I was until that question was posed to me. And so what I did this morning is I got up, and he had been doing some things that I didn't want him to do that I felt totally justified in my home to say, you can't do them. If you want to do them, you should go get your own place. He's 24, blah, blah, blah. And so, of course I was justified in my behavior and my ideas, and that's exactly the evidence that my brain was giving me, and it was very rational and very logical. It made sense. And when I just looked at it and I said, well, wait a minute, you're holding on to one end of the rope, Rex. Why don't you just let go of the end of the rope and let go? I mean, who cares, if he's doing the thing he's doing? It was insignificant. It doesn't even matter what it is. And what I came to understand was this morning I got up and I said, hey, I just knocked on his door, and I heard him waking up, and I didn't know how long he'd be in there, and he just kind of takes off for the day and comes back late at night, and I just smiled. I had prayed on it and processed through what I should say, and I knocked on the door and said, hey, I'm done struggling with your journey and trying to force you to do things. And it's just not going to happen anymore. I'm not going to do that anymore. And so I'd appreciate it if you would use the door. It's up to you. And then I had one other thing that was on my mind. I asked him about it, and he goes, well, Dad, I don't know anything about that other thing. And I said, you didn't take the latch out of the door on the gate? And he said, no, I don't know what you're talking about. I said, well, interesting. That latch, it's a little key. It's not a key to unlock it, but you know how a gate has a little latch, and then it has this loose piece that moves the plunger up and down. Well, anyway, somehow that had come out, and it wasn't anywhere, and it has fallen out before, but it wasn't on the ground. Well, then after me processing, thinking he had done that, I found a couple days later it was put back in. And then I thought, well, that just justified that it must be him. And now it's gone again. And so I'm laughing now, but that's not how I felt all along, And finally,
triggered something different in you.
Oh, it's just amazing watching. So I really don't know who, what, how, why, where, and I actually, only from a functional perspective do I care whether that has a lock in it or not, or has a way to open the gate from the outside. And I just really, I watched my son when he left. He came out the door. He didn't go out the window. He came out the door, and he just walked out.
You didn't share the piece you didn't really share the piece. I don't think that the issue was around him climbing out his bedroom window so that to come and go, so that he didn't have to see you guys, didn't have to confront you, and so that was really the main power struggle issue at this point, right?
Thank you. Yes, and that was a big part that I had gone down to, and it had been other things that I felt justified in as well. And I'm careful with saying those words. I'm being very conscious in that. The justification came from me rationalizing and actually working out and allowing my power person and surrendering to the power person. And it looked pretty subtle because I was calm. I wouldn't, there was times when I get real upset, but I got through that and worked through that, but I still came to the same conclusion. Well, you either do this or you got to go. Well, the fact is...
And Rex, it's from within a certain belief system, a certain set of realities, that's perfectly logical. And one of my pieces in that regard that I love to offer people is that within certain belief systems, anything can be rationalized. For instance, within the belief system that the volcano god Pele is going to destroy the whole village if you don't bring your cutest virgin up and throw her in the volcano to keep the volcano god happy. Within that belief system, that was a logical thing, and people, believed that that's what kept Pele from swallowing their village. And, in that belief system, it was logical, but it's, when we stand back from here and look at it, it's pretty bizarre and pretty insane. And the non-being mind, the mind of hostility and fear can rationalize absolutely anything. And to me, the key becomes one of the measuring sticks for behavior is, would a newborn do that?
Right.
If a newborn wouldn't do it, probably we have no business doing it. And it's a good way to measure the reality structure that we have and the belief systems that we have, if we're going to really incarnate and function as human beings.
Absolutely. And what you're describing, Michael, is right spot on, because it's that process that I've recognized in me and my own hostility and my relationship with my father that really has nothing to do with my relationship with my son. It's that I take that relationship that I am at times unresolved in and still looking and seeking, something from him, and then I take that and it behaviorally drives me, and I go and act with my son a certain way. Well, the end result of this process was he walked out through the door very politely, very casually, one of the nicest interactions we've had for a while, and he just said, all right, Dad, I'm taking off for the day. He almost never says anything like that. I'm taking off for the day. And I said, cool. I said, well, have fun. Enjoy your day. And he said, yep, you too. See ya. And I think, and my main reasons for wanting to share this is that when a person steps back and realizes that, well, what difference does it make? What difference does it make? And I thought, well, gosh, the window breaks, I'll put in a new window. Yeah, it's a hassle. Yeah, it costs me some money, but is it more important than me being connected to my source? No.
Or to your son?
Essentially. Pardon me?
Or to your son?
Or to my son. Correct. Yeah.
Right.
And that it all boils down to that for me, and it just comes right to it. And when I get to the place where I just go, wait a minute, Rex, slow down, take a breath. You're hallucinating. You're hallucinating from those brain cells that you, and this is the piece that's come out of this already today, and it's still unfolding, and that is that I was, and I've seen this before, but I'm seeing it even more clearly, that I was trying to protect myself in my own environment, and I thought the way I had to do that was to control my environment, and that was just, my observation is that was my dad's behavior. That was his fear that I resonated with and learned, and then I just went about duplicating it, and my brain just said, yeah, this is what we do. And I went, okay, let me just go to sleep for a while. You take over. So I wanted to share all that, Michael, and I just really appreciate you, as you know, and I hope that's helpful for the listeners and anybody who's able to tap into the conversation, because it's so very, very powerful to always maintain what I call integrity. Integrity to me is that I can maintain a humble status, because the minute I think I've gotten somewhere, it's usually the first moment I go, well, where do you think you've gotten? Or where do you think you've reached? What level do you think you've reached now? Let's see how this works. And I just laugh at myself and go, you know what, just a humble pie is just relax and say, it's a beautiful day, the sun's shining, the wind's blowing, life is good regardless of what the experience is, and just keep using the tools and keep supporting the wholeness in all areas. So that's what I wanted to share. And I'd love to hear any more comments you have about this power struggle that we go through when we're working. I'm working with my clients, and some of my clients obviously are working through this too, and that is not a surprise. But the idea of pushing and pulling, and when you let go of the rope, it's truly, when it's inside, I'm pushing and pulling inside. And it's the battle I'm doing. I'm holding both ends of the rope. If I let go of one end of the rope and just breathe, then it just dissolves.
That's for sure. And, my first piece of information I'd offer you would be that I acknowledge you as a teacher of the work, and knowing that you've probably got clients listening to the show, your courage is just bringing your own stuff forward and, and being with it. That's pretty powerful and pretty awesome. And the other one, when you say, my relationship with my father has nothing to do with my relationship with my son, of course, your relationship with your son has everything to do with your relationship with your father, because that's where the power person dynamics were established. We had an interesting happening at the intensive just this past week, where a young man was there, and he was, had made a commitment to fulfill and be at every session during our intensive. And toward the completion of the intensive, he thought he was getting some guidance to do something different. And so I went to visit him. He was actually staying at a nearby hotel. And so I went to visit him at the hotel, and it was just the perfect scenario for the power person, because he's in fear. Here I am, the person who's the workshop leader, so I'm now the symbol of the power person. And he's going to be forced to do something he doesn't want to do and go against his guidance, et cetera, et cetera. And it was just pretty cool to be part of, rather than playing the power person role. And one of the key pieces in the definition of a power person is that the power person is not functioning out of love, is not functioning out of being. If we've got somebody who's functioning out of love, there is no power person dynamic. Right. And so as I went to speak with him, and our conversation was, well, you've got an agreement, and we can't carry on with the class unless you're there. That's what was part of the agreement up front, was we don't do any session unless everybody's in the room. So we won't be able to continue and complete the class. It was the closure session of the session. He's like, well, then you're telling me that I have to go. I said, no, I'm not telling you have to go. There's certainly a result, and that is the class won't be able to complete, but, you need to do what you need to do. And he's like, well, you mean I actually have a choice? And he went right back to a dynamic with his father and not having choices. When the stress was up and the chips were down, his father would bulldoze him into a corner, and he is still, and I guess he's probably 35 or so, he's still functioning out of, although he's now a father of 5 children, and, of course, their power person, that he's still being playing out of the fear of being bullied into a corner and not having choices. And it's just like, well, I hold space for whatever you choose to do. Of course, we won't go on with the class without you there, and you need to do what you need to do. So I'm just here to support you. What's up? What do you want to do? And so we went through and processed that, and it was just like awesome resolution. And it's like, well, give me a few minutes. I'll be right there, and we'll head down to class. And it was just this fabulous, fabulous opening. And the game of the power person is that when the power person is functioning out of some form of hostility or fear, the child, and for anybody who wants to tap into this, I think it was, back last February or March, that we did about 16 shows. We did 16 hours on codependence and covered the whole kit and caboodle.
Yeah,
so if you want to tap into that, if anybody's listening wants to tap into that, but by definition, the power person is somebody who had more power over our lives than we did, and that when that happens, when someone isn't functioning out of love and has that level of control, it's perceived as survival, and it becomes, when the stress is up and the chips are down, the thing that controls, the thing that the power person did that we hated the most is exactly what controls our behavior when we're functioning out of carbon-based memory. And so, of course, you obviously are your son's power person, and it's replicating dad, and you just bit off and spit out a huge chunk of that whole dynamic for your family system. To be able to change that game is so empowering and so powerful. So awesome.
Well, thank you, Michael. And the one thought I had as you were sharing about when I said it had nothing to do with my father, I realized, of course, it has everything to do with my relationship with my father, but the truth of what my relationship with my son is designed to be is not to do with my father. I've made it to do with my father, and that's what I was feeling, and I didn't articulate it very well. So, and that's what I recognize is that, gosh, I have this potential to be in yeah. Yeah. Yes. Well, that's very helpful. I have the potential to be in relationship, not just in relationship with my son and my family and my life, but with myself. That's where a lot of emotion just surfaced. I realized that. That
breathe, stay with it, feel.
I'm breathing. Yeah, okay. So I've recognized, and I'm recognizing in this moment more clearly than I may have ever recognized it. the power and the gifts of being in a relationship with myself and allowing me to be in a relationship, therefore, in opening me up to be in a relationship truly with others, especially my own children. And the other thought I had, and thank you for supporting me in this process, I really appreciate it. And the other thought I had is, yes, it is vulnerable to be a teacher and teaching workshops and know that this is being archived. And I thought through that, and I thought, you know what? I'm either committed and devoted to bring this work forward,
sounds like a whole lot of grief getting ready to surface and move out of your life. And I breathe with you and I acknowledge you. And, you know, the truth, Rex, is that your birthright and the birthright of everybody who's listening to the show right now is to experience our fathers, our mothers, our siblings, and the people around us as human beings, and to experience ourselves as this awesome presence of love that we are. And because for generations that's been ignored, hostility, rage, grief, fear, pain, control, manipulation, all those dynamics stored in this carbon-based memory system that we call our bodies, when they're triggered into activity by stress, take over. You know, I don't know of anyone that I've ever asked about the newborn child that doesn't just tap into this awesome presence of love that they are, and of course want to maintain that their whole lives long. Everybody wants that. But if we have something different in carbon-based memory in regard to relationship with our person, then, you know, the person who brings a child into the world with all the most wonderful intentions going, but hasn't dealt with their own dissociated dynamics around their power person, it's guaranteed that that child will grow up and say all the things about you or I as a parent that we said about our parents, because the dynamic just replicates over and over again. And to me, you really bring forward the importance of the willingness to do our work, because we can disappear these dynamics from planet Earth. We can disappear this insanity of the conflict, the rage, the grief between father and son, and we can experience our birthright, ourselves as this awesome presence of love that we are, our parents, our children, and change the whole game. And that's, you know, really that's why we're doing this right from the get-go, is to change that dynamic. And, you know, if we're functioning as a human being, it's our birthright our whole life long to experience everyone around us in the same way as their human beingness. And when we're in denial and dissociation of the painful dynamics that came from the power person, then we'll make up all kinds of stories about why there's somebody else that deserves our rage, our fear, our grief, or, you know, in the case of one of the dynamics we're working on is war. That, well, yeah, but you see, I have this story about these people that are like this. And until I get to realize the truth is, you know, if we listen to Einstein, he says, on such things as matter we have been all wrong. We are energy. And then he says, if you think you're separate or separated from the rest of humanity, you're living in an optical delusion. And this delusion of separateness, that we could do war on our child, our parent, or that our parent has done war on us and we have to do war on somebody on the other side of the globe that we can't see, and it doesn't matter because we can't see them. You know, it's all tied together in one insane non-human game that has been developed in development for so long. And I appreciate and acknowledge your courage for being willing to go to that depth and that level where you're facing that kind of pain and moving it out. And not just for yourself, but the whole of your bloodline and for the whole of humanity.
Well, Michael, thank you so much for the acknowledgement. I appreciate it, and I fully accept it and receive it. And I thank you also for giving me a few moments to to do some canceling and breathing and allow myself to, be aware, so I can communicate. So thank you for all of that. And just for awareness, you're absolutely correct about that. I'm tapping into a deep level of grief and loss, and I'm excited about that. And I can complete my thoughts now more clearly. I had not been fully committed to this work. I didn't know it. I didn't realize it. And I just got that. And committed to this work is committed to the work of being human. Committed to the work, the expression of being divine, being that I am, and being that expression of pure love that I've been speaking of, that I've been saying, that I've been aspiring to do, and I'm continuing to recognize deeper levels of that within myself. And I absolutely, am so pleased that I stepped forward today, and I processed it quite a bit because, there is this piece, and the thought I had, which was evidence, and I'm going to share this, the evidence that my brain was giving me was, well, now wait a minute, if you talk about stuff and you reveal too much to the, quote, public, which I'm really, it's cute. I'm smiling because it's just cute. If I reveal this information and reveal my vulnerability, that's the power person dynamic that I was working. It was playing itself out, even to the extent that it was still controlling my willingness to speak honestly to you and to all of our listeners. And, well, that would restrict my ability dramatically to be able to stand up in front of a class and teach without even having that awareness that it was. And so I'm extremely excited about that, and I just my commitment is to bring not just bring the tool of forgiveness, the Aramaic understanding of forgiveness to every mind on the planet, and to expand that to just bringing the pure beingness that we are. That anything that I can do that will support you or Jeannie or any of our listeners or any of the people that I'm directly working with, that I can do within myself to elicit that co-creation that we already are. And so that we can let go of this stuff and change it and be the beings that we truly are. I'm in.
And one of the reasons why we do this show is because it takes a whole community to move us through it. There's that wonderful African proverb that says, if you want to go quickly, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And it takes us bouncing off of each other and being there for each other to bounce back when there is insanity going on. Within the context of one's carbon-based memory, as I said earlier, throwing a virgin into the volcano was very logical, and as what you were doing with your son was very logical in your logical mind, but it wasn't human. And when we have each other to bounce off of, that's one of the reasons for the Mind Shifter support groups. That's why we're doing Mind Shifters Radio, is to be that voice of sanity and for each other, with each other, that we all have an insight and a way to touch that state of being. And when one of us goes off track, you look at Yeshua, and he sent them off not one by one, but two by two, so that if one was in blockage truth, the other one could always say, hey, what's going on here? This doesn't sound very loving. This doesn't sound like human life. So it's cool to have you on the team and doing the work. And I know you've got a workshop this weekend, right?
Well, actually, yes, I do have a Mind Shifter Still Point Breathing workshop on Saturday, and we have our Mind Shifter support group tomorrow night. So we're doing a Mind Shifter support group tomorrow night. So anyone that's on listening to the program, I know we've got, it's out there. I've been communicating with people regularly, so we're getting a group. We've had, between We had as little as 3 one time. The second time I did the in-between, we had a smaller group. But we've had, anywhere from 7 to 10, 11 people in our groups. And
That's
we're real
awesome.
excited about it expanding.
That's
And
awesome. So that's
well.
at your home on Lucy, and Rex's website is Still Point Breath of Life, so you can pick up the flyers for tomorrow night's Mind Shifters group, and then the Mind Shifters in Still Point Breathing this weekend, and ongoing process in Lansing, Michigan. So I'm Red's in that area. Tap in and check in with Rex and give him a call. And Rex, I'm delighted to be here for you, glad to be on the team, and we'll look forward to the next time we get face-to-face, maybe this summer, right?
Yeah, that's what we're kind of looking at, the possibility of doing that somehow. And if we're able to do that, fantastic. And we're looking at also setting in motion, getting you to come up to Michigan here in the fall, hopefully. To match up with something along that line with coming to the Coptics if you end up doing that as well. So
yeah, actually, I spoke with John.
Movement.
Yeah, I spoke with John this morning about the Spiritual Unity of Nations Conference, and we're going to be out west at that point, and so we're going to let it go for this year, do it next year.
Okay. Well, we'll figure it out, and I'm sure the universe has got it figured out. We'll just set in motion, and we'll be ready.
All right, sir. We love you. Blessings. Take care.
Blessings to everyone. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Jeannie, do you have another caller?
We do. We're down to about 8 minutes, so the other callers that we don't get, if you'll call back in tomorrow, that would be awesome. But the first caller is area code 561. You're on the air.
Hello?
561.
Yes.
Is that Michael?
Yes, it is. How you guys doing?
Hey, good sir. Good to hear your voice. I apologize. We couldn't get you on the show yesterday. It was just kind of crazy the way it was working.
That's what I figured that one out. It sounded like it was busy. So how you guys doing?
We are well. We're just catching up with ourselves, getting some playtime in before we start the next round. The last intensive was absolutely awesome. The two of them together was definitely a boost and a lift, and it was just amazing.
Yeah, some powerful stuff.
And I understand from your message you had a breakthrough happen since the intensive. This is Michael Coughlin, for those who might not know who we're talking to, from Boca Raton. Does a Mind Shifter support group down there, and was at the first 9-day intensive we did in Palm Coast. And Michael had tried to get into the show yesterday. We've got a couple of shows in the archives with Michael in them, with his story and what he's been doing with the work. So tell us what happened. You shared this.
I had to face this huge resentment in the rooms. I'm in a 12-step program, and about 8 months ago I went to a certain meeting and was misunderstood, or I brought some fear in somebody else. And by the time I got home, there were police here who had cuffed me and put me into a county sanctuary or whatever. And I stopped going to meetings. I had a huge resentment. So I knew I had to go to this meeting. Everything worked out that I was able to go to the meeting. And Satan showed up, the resistor, and I had pain and I couldn't move. And I'm like, I'm still going. I got to get this done and get this over with. But my mindset when I was heading there was, to blame and to say this, you guys did this, this, and this. And I asked Ruka Dakusha to guide my words. And then when I opened up my mouth, a whole different story came out. It was a whole different, it was responsible communication. The first words I said is I wanted to thank everybody in this room for giving me an opportunity to learn as a man, as a person in the program. And I explained a little bit of what happened, and I told them the journey that I had taken and what it did, and the fear that it brought up, and the betrayal that I felt. But I said, these are my feelings, these things that I had to deal with. And I said, what resentment, I still use the steps, and I use some other work. I said, but I just wanted to thank everybody for giving me an opportunity to grow and to be able to handle this situation and other situations. And without this, I would never achieve this level of understanding. And I just owned everything And I know that the guy who knocked on me was there. I knew it. I could just tell. I could see his eyes when I first walked through the door. And but the response I got was unbelievable. I mean, it was and I didn't hurt any new guys in the program that are coming up with just belly aching about all this stuff and being all upset. And I'm telling you, this stuff works, because we were at the Mind Shifter, the intensive with you, and I did a lot of work. Some of it on my children, and we got this place that we got for Thanksgiving, and I haven't talked to my youngest in forever. And I just texted her, just going through the motions. Hey, you wanna come down here for Thanksgiving? And she said yes. I was like, oh, really? I was like, I was shocked. I was like, it was unbelievable. But you're right. If we hold the space of love for everybody else, we can be that catalyst. We can be that safe place where, I'm putting out this different frequency now, because we're all energy. I'm putting out this frequency of a being, and that resonates with people whether they know it or not. It kind of happens, and this has been an amazing. I mean, literally, as soon as we got back from the intensive, I got a letter from my father being upset about me going to his meeting a year ago when he was dying. So I sat down, I wrote, 3-4 copies of it, and we kept switching it to responsible communication, and I sent the letter out, and I sent it out with love and with understanding of his pain and where he was at, and I didn't feel, when I first got the letter, I felt angry, but because of the work that we're doing, I could understand things at a more loving place, a more understanding place, and I didn't have to own it. I didn't have to own his anger. It didn't drive me in to do something else. It didn't become the driver, because that's not my goal. So as long as I have this goal to be, try to live this work and try to put it out. We got a workshop tomorrow at Panera near Yamato at 7 to 9. We had 3 people show up last week, and I think we might get some more this week, so that should be good. But, step by step, day by day, worksheet by worksheet, this stuff works. And then if anybody knows me, they wouldn't believe me now. I mean, I've just come so far from such a dark and angry place to a place where I can get hurt, because it hurts when somebody says certain things about you, but not to react, not to be negative energy upon the universe, but to take the negative energy, to look at it from a place of love and hold the space for whoever's sending it, and then to answer them in a positive manner, and not have to own the negative stuff.
Right. And well, Michael, that's just so fabulous that your daughter, especially, I know how important that is to you, and I know how much deep work you've done around that. And I think that probably the letter you were able to write to your father had a whole lot to do with the space you've shifted to be able to hold for your daughter, and for her response to come forward like that. That's like so monumental and so awesome of your work that I just congratulate you and hold the space, and it's just awesome.
I wouldn't be here without you and your sweetie. Absolutely. You guys are amazing. And for anybody who's new to the work, stick around. Because I say this every time I'm on, I talk to Michael. And I went to the intensive, and I got pissed off at him there. It just happened. One day I just decided I was mad at him. And the second time I met Michael in the work, I literally walked out, and I would have drove away, but my fiance was there, and I was stuck. I had a car behind me. So this stuff initially might rise some resistance, Satan, the resistor, up inside you. But if you get rid of that resistance and you listen, oh, man, it can be the light of day. Literally, it's like dawn breaking on a beach for you. It's amazing. It truly is.
Well, that is just I'm so delighted. And let's talk after the show. We're down to about 30 seconds, so we're going to just close it out and say, everybody, thanks for being with us. Join us tomorrow. Bring a stranger with you. Blessings. Bye-bye.
thank you for listening to Mind Shifters Radio with the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael Ryce, and his wife Jeannie, who present the internal Aramaic process of forgiveness. Michael and Jeannie are here every Monday through Friday on Earth Angels Radio. For more on Michael and Jeannie, please visit www.whyagain.com. That's www.whyagain.com.